Over a year ago, I fixed a mower for a coworker, and now honestly, I thought that would be the last time I'd see it, but a year later, they brought it back to me, saying the self-propel wasn't working. The problem is that it was working when I gave it back to them. The issue is that they said they never used the mower, and it's been in the shed this entire time. So that brings up a question: how did this happen, or is there part of the story they're not telling me? In today's video, we look at this Craftsman mower, and the problem is, according to my coworker, the self-propel doesn't work. Now, for some reason, I can't find any record of this mower being in my possession, but I can remember working on it. Originally, it came to me for a no-start condition that only required me to clear the fuel jet to get it working again. Now, I'm going to try and repair this mower, but yours might be a little different, so this might not work on yours. If things aren't working out for you, like in the video, please ask about it, and I'll be glad to answer your questions. So the first major issue I see is that the oil is well below the recommended level, and it's dark in color, which means it needs to be changed. The problem is that I changed the oil over a year ago. That means this engine has seen quite a bit of action in the last year, which goes against the idea that it's been in the shed this entire time. Another item that points to the condition of the engine is the air filter. The surprising part is just how bad this one looks. As you can see, it's extremely dirty. That means this mower has been used to mow areas that's more dirt than grass. Now, just out of morbid curiosity, I want to see if the engine will even start using this air filter. Now, after taking off the fuel cap, I can see there's some gasoline in there, which means we can try a test start and see what the self-propel is doing. The problem is that if they were going to use the mower only to find out that the self-propel wasn't working, wouldn't the tank be full and not almost empty? So here's a fun fact: when I typically give back mowers, I'll set the wheel height all the way up, mainly because that's where I have my deck set to. The issue is that these wheels have been set almost all the way down, which means there's a good chance someone used this mower and that it has not been sitting in the shed this entire time. The next big issue that's hard to miss is that I can push the mower around with the front wheels off the ground and only riding on the rear wheels. However, if I put the front wheels down, you soon realize the right wheel isn't spinning like it's supposed to, and the left wheel is locked up, which is a pretty good reason why the self-propel isn't working, but that's not the only reason why. Another reason why it might not be working is that the cable for the self-propel might be stuck. Now, after checking both handles, I can tell they're not working as smoothly as they should be. Now, they're not stuck and kind of working, so to fix it, we're going to spray lube into the ends of the cable and see if that makes it work any better. Now, this cable is the brake cable for the flywheel, and it also works as a switch to ground the ignition module to stop the engine. As you can see, it's kind of kinked at the bottom, which typically happens when you collapse the handlebar the wrong way. Now, this one isn't that bad, but if it's really bad, it could cause issues later on. As you can see, the cable will not completely return back to position when you release the handle. Now, lubing the cable may not be able to get it to work the way it's supposed to, but it can't hurt it either. Now, after spraying the top part of the cable at the anchor, you can see it seems to be working a lot better now. While I'm here, I'm also going to spray the lower part of the cable as well, just for good measure. Now, if it's really bad, you can take the cable off the machine, put it into a Ziploc bag, and then fill the bag with lube. However, if that doesn't work, I would just replace the cable. So if the cables are in working condition, where else could there be a problem? That brings us to the belt and also the transmission itself. Now, after getting the cover off, we can see that it's still in one piece, and I didn't show it, but the belt was still on the pulley on the crankshaft as well. So if the belt is not broken, we need to see what happens when we squeeze the self-propel handle. As you can see, when squeezing the handle, it causes the transmission to rotate, which then increases the tension on the drive belt. The question then comes up, is the transmission moving far enough to put plenty of tension on the belt? Now, after moving it by hand, I can see that it is moving as far as it can go, so that means this is as much tension as it's going to get. Now, I didn't show it, but I did top the oil off. That way I don't damage the engine any more than it already is, so there's nothing left to do except start it and see what happens. So what just happened? Well, it appears the belt is not spinning, which means either the transmission is locked up or the wheels are stuck, which we already knew. So before we start looking at the transmission, I think it's best that we free the wheels and see if that fixes our problem. After getting the nut off the axle, you can see just how stuck the wheel really is. So why would the wheel be stuck to the axle if the wheel is plastic? Well, if you didn't know it, some of these wheels have steel sleeves in them. That way the axle won't wear into the wheel and cause them to wobble over time. Now to help get the wheel off the axle, I'm going to spray some lube on the end and then try to work the wheel free. If that doesn't work, I'll then spray some lube on the backside of the wheel as well. I'm also going to try to pry it loose from the backside, which really didn't seem to help out at all. Now I was able to get the wheel to spin, but it's not exactly going according to plan. What's really happening is that the wheel is spinning free of the metal sleeve and not the axle. That means if I get this wheel off the axle, the sleeve will still be stuck to the axle. So what I'm going to do is let this soak in for a few minutes, and in the meantime, I'm going to try and free the other wheel instead. Now this one is responding a lot better, but it's doing the exact same thing as the other wheel. After freeing the wheel, you can now see the metal sleeve I was talking about. It also appears that it did come off the axle about half an inch before it got stuck. You can also see the ridges on the sleeve that's supposed to help keep it from spinning against the plastic. Unfortunately, this is when we see the damage to the plastic teeth around the edge of the wheel. As far as I know, there is no way to fix these teeth without making a new mold and casting new teeth using resin. You know what, to be honest, I'd like to take that challenge, so be on the lookout for that video. That also means that at least for this particular wheel, there will not be any power getting to it. Now typically the only way to fix this would be to just buy a new wheel, but at $23 a pair, I wouldn't call it a cheap fix. That means if I can fix the teeth for a few dollars, it'd be well worth the effort. Now, as you can tell, the sleeve is not coming off without a fight, so what I'm going to do is drive it back onto the axle and then apply more lube to it, then try taking it off again. Doing it this way will sometimes help the lube get to all of the axle and make it easier to take off the sleeve. Once the sleeve is off, I'll then clean the axle using brake cleaner and then try removing any corrosion that might still be on it by using sandpaper. I would also recommend doing the same to the inside of the sleeve as well. While I'm here, I'm also going to spray lube to parts of the drive gear as well, especially to the bearing supporting the shaft. I'm also going to remove any lube that might still be on the plastic where the sleeve goes because I don't want to promote any movement here. Once that's done, I'll then install the metal sleeve. The good part is that I had to tap the sleeve back into place. That shows the plastic is still tight and not worn out just yet. Then I'll install this wheel back onto the mower and then do the same process to the other side. Then we'll start the mower and see how the self-propel works. So it looks like the self-propel is kind of working, which is better than what it was doing before. Now only one side is working because that wheel still has good teeth, whereas the one on the right side is missing teeth, so no power is going to get to it. So in the end, we were able to get the self-propel working again, but I'm still trying to figure out how it got stuck in the first place. Unfortunately, after informing my coworker about the stuck wheels, they still didn't have a different answer from what they've already told me. So my question is, do you believe my coworker that they got the mower back from me after fixing it and just put it away for a year, or do you think they might not be telling me the whole truth? Now, I don't want to call them a liar, but from everything I've seen, it appears the mower was used quite a bit, then left outside in the rain for quite some time, and then put away in the shed, and that's when the wheels locked up. Now, it's just a theory, but it's the only one that makes sense to me. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.